I started rapping when I was like 12 years old, but I started listening and getting into hip hop when I was 6. You know, my brother would play like different artists around the house, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, Nas, Jay-Z, and all these artists, and my mother would, you know, with like a blend of like the stuff she was playing, which was like the soul samples, the Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield, and all these other artists or whatever. So, you know, with that mixture, I kind of gravitated toward like what inspired me more so, and that's how I got into, you know, hip hop and listening to it. I started like writing other artists' rhymes and putting my name in the place of theirs just to kind of get comfortable with the writing part of it. But it was 2 artists that really inspired, like, you know, the technical part of me rhyming, which were Nas and Andre 3000, because they had so many words rhyming, you know, in one bar. And Andre too, because, you know, his subject matter. And I was from the South, I could easily relate to the things that he was saying and the things that were going on around me. You know, even as an 8-year-old when I really started getting into it more. But, you know, so make a long story short, I was born in 1998. 1988, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. 1988, when I was coming up, they said that was like a year that, you know, hip hop reigned supreme. You had Slick Rick, Big Daddy Kane, and all these artists, you know, at one time, all these elite artists at one time, you know, so it's kind of in correlation to that, you know. 1988, the year I was born, and this is the same year that hip hop reigned supreme, so 88 is the tape. Like I said, the reason why I chose the artwork, it was like a group of us just sitting in the room and thinking about stuff that were like really relevant in 1988, you know, Bill Cosby. I had Coming to America, Eddie Murphy was on there, Halle Berry was on there, Felicia Rashad was on there, just like really important, I don't want to say like black figures, but stuff that was like really relevant to hip hop culture and just black culture in general. I would say that. So yeah, I knew from the beginning that I wanted to release it in Black History Month, but I didn't really have a specific day. I'm sorry, so I just chose the 2nd because it was done, it was wrapped up, and you know, my team was ready to go, so we put it out. That's really all I had. I just went in and said I have these ideas, and I want to work on them and take a lot of time with all these ideas and just kind of just wrap it up. But there was no really significance to that. But I just had so much music, and the hard part for that was just narrowing down the records. But there was no really significance to the number, which was 13 records on the project. There was really no significance to that. It's just what felt good. So yeah. Me and Jason Jeter, we just sat down and just came up with everything and just, like I said, what felt good and what flowed right and what really just, you know, what grabbed the people, what grabbed us initially, you know, because I feel like he's a hard person to please. So if he's playing it from top to bottom over and over, I feel like I kind of got something. So if I can have him just sit through a whole 13-song project more than once, multiple times, I feel like, you know, the average listener could do that as well. So yeah, there's really no flow to it, man. Like I said, I just wanted it to feel great. Like I said, me and Jason Jeter put the project together, but it was just all about what felt good. I don't think it's like a flow. If it does feel like that, I think that's just strictly, you know, organic and just how it came together. Just in case. All right, so I was in a situation where, you know, I was up, you know, being that I had a little money, you know, I had a record deal. I had just signed a record deal. This was like previously before Jason Jeter, you know, and in the blink of an eye, I caught a case, like everything just went just bad or whatever. So, before all of this stuff started going bad, I had a bunch of people around me. So, you know, soon as I lost everything, everybody disappeared. You know, and I remember one day I was listening to Fab's mixtape, and there was this artist on there named Stacey Barth. You know, and I was like, yo, I want to work with her. I was just feeling all this stuff, and she like really inspired me to. And it was like a short like gap on that song where she sung at the end of it. So and that really inspired me. So as I'm going through all of this stuff, she inspired me to write a little more. Just her tone and her voice and the stuff she was saying. And I really connected with it. So I went into the studio one day. This is so crazy to me. I still like can feel it. I went into the studio, and she just popped in the studio out of nowhere. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. She's in here, and I'm going through all this stuff, And I was like, yo, I really want to work with you. I kind of fanned out a little bit. Like, yo, I was so ready and patient for that moment. And I never knew it was going to happen like that, but I knew I was going to work with her. So when she came in, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I always wanted to work with you. So I went in the booth and I played this beat for her. And she was actually about to leave. She loved it. She was like, yo, I'm going to stay and record this. She got in the booth, recorded the hook. I gave her the hook. And, you know, like I said, I was going through all this stuff, and the song is called Just In Case. Did the record, it came out dope, and, you know, at least to me. And Just In Case, man. The Fire is a record where I just talk about, like, everyday struggles, like, growing up that I had that, you know, I'm sure other people could relate to. You know, and it starts off saying, it goes from me saying, we were so poor, like all we had was our nappy hair and our raggy gear. We depended on free lunch and all these other things. And then it goes into how I want to change that. You know, we have to be mindful of the stuff that we're going through. You know what I mean? So I say pills and puff the weed and dust. No, we can't feel our faces in the trap. We trust you. That's a hustler's conversation. Pimps and sluts addicted to the lust, can't duck temptation. Man, this double cup is fucking up my generation. You know what I'm saying? So it goes from me having to go through these things and seeing all these things and to people being mindful of all these things. So I call that, and having the fuel and the drive to change it, that's why I call it The Fire. So The Fire is another one of my favorites off the 88 tape. Man, In Trouble on My Mind, I got to work with the, you know, the talented BJ the Chicago Kid, man. He just came in and he's like, yo, you know, every day that we wake up, we can't take it for granted. We have to even be, you know, aware of all the troubles and all the stuff that go on in the world that just be conscious of these things, and it gives us something to talk about. So he went in and laid the hook, and he was like, yo, I want you to fill this hook in, and I want you to talk about everything that goes on, you know, in your world today. So I did that, and that's another one of my favorites, man. And, you know, we knocked it out. So those are like my 3 favorite records off the tape, just because they have sentimental value, because of the moment that Stacy walked in and I wanted to work with her, and I had all these things to talk about. Trouble on My Mind, because, you know, BJ always, you know, inspires me because he always has substance, and, you know, he pulled that out of me that day in the studio, and he's also somebody that I wanted to work with. And The Fire, because I wanted to express myself and explain where I come from a little bit, because I know if you have a story, there's a million people that's going through the same thing. So kind of wanted to do that, yeah. A lot of this music is like a year old. Most of it is a year old. So that's probably an interesting fact. So me saying that is kind of like, I don't want to sound like arrogant or nothing, but the music that I'm working on is like 10 times better. If people love this, they're going to love what I got coming next. So yeah.